My brother-in-law told everyone at Easter dinner that my pregnancy was actually a cancer scare because he thought it was funny. So I did this, and now his wife won't speak to him. Throwaway because my brother-in-law follows my main. First time posting but long time lurker. Sorry in advance for the wall of text and any formatting issues on mobile. So I, female 31, have been married to my husband Will, male 33, for almost 5 years now. We've been trying to have a baby for about 3 years. Like, really trying. Not just the fun, let's see what happens trying, but the inject yourself with hormones, cry when you get your period, and spend your life savings kind of trying. I honestly never thought having a baby would be this hard. We've done 2 rounds of IVF, which by the way costs like $20 each time, and insurance covered basically nothing. The first round, none of the embryos were viable. The second round, I had a chemical pregnancy, which was devastating. We were so close. Will and I had pretty much decided we were done trying after that. We were both emotionally exhausted, our savings was completely wiped out, and I couldn't handle any more disappointment. And then, I got pregnant. Naturally, like when we weren't even really trying anymore. I literally took like 5 tests because I couldn't believe it. I was throwing up every morning for a week before I even considered that might be what was happening. Will cried when I told him. I've only seen him cry like twice our entire relationship. Anyway, we decided to wait until the 12-week mark to tell family because of all our previous disappointments. Craig is the kind of guy who thinks he's hilarious, but is actually just really inappropriate most of the time. He's always making these jokes that are basically just mean comments, and everyone in the family just laughs it off like, oh, that's just Craig being Craig. He's been this way forever, according to Will. Like at our wedding, he gave a best man speech where he joked about Will's ex-girlfriends in front of my entire family. My grandma was there. It was mortifying. But the thing is, Craig actually can be supportive sometimes. Like 6 months ago, I had this health scare where they found an ovarian cyst that they thought might be cancer. It wasn't, thank God. And Craig was surprisingly supportive. He sent me these silly memes to cheer me up and even drove me to one of my appointments when Will was stuck at work. So he's not all bad, which makes the rest of his behavior even more confusing. Oh, an important context. Craig and his wife Jenna, female 34, have been struggling with infertility for like 5+ years. They've done multiple IVF rounds too with no success. So pregnancy announcements are obviously a sensitive topic. I actually told Craig about my pregnancy before anyone else, besides Will obviously. Will was on an international business trip, and I was at this work conference feeling super nauseous. I ended up confiding in Craig because I just needed someone to talk to who knew what was going on. He seemed genuinely happy for us and promised to keep it secret until we were ready to tell everyone. So Easter comes around, and we decided that would be the perfect time to announce, since the whole family would be together. Will's family has these super rigid Easter traditions that have been going on for decades. His mom insists everyone dresses formal. His dad tells the same 3 hunting stories every year. We always eat ham, even though literally no one likes it. You know, family tradition stuff. Will and I had gotten these cute mugs that said, "Future grandchild coming November 2023" for his parents, and we planned to give them during dessert. I was so excited. After everything we'd been through, I just wanted to have this one perfect moment. So after dinner, Will and I stood up together, and I noticed Jenna's face get kind of tight. Will started saying we had exciting news, and before he could even finish, Craig loudly interrupted. He announced that I wasn't actually pregnant, but had a cancer scare, saying it was a late April Fool's joke, and told everyone they should see their faces. And then he just started laughing. Everyone else went completely silent. Will's mom had her hand frozen halfway to her mouth. I just couldn't even speak. I started crying and ran out of the room while Craig was still laughing. Will asked Craig what the hell he was doing in this really quiet, angry voice. Will never raises his voice when he's mad. He gets quieter, which is honestly scarier. Craig told everyone to lighten up, saying it was just a joke while still chuckling. I tried to explain that I really was pregnant, but I was crying so hard no one could understand me. Craig just shrugged and said I was pregnant, but they should have seen their faces, like that somehow made it better. Will's mom asked if I was okay, looking super confused. I just mumbled something about needing the bathroom and ran out sobbing. Jenna followed me and was apologizing for Craig, saying she had no idea he was going to do that. From the bathroom, I could hear Craig telling everyone they were overreacting and it was just a joke. I heard Will's dad tell Craig that it wasn't funny. After I calmed down a bit, took like 20 minutes honestly, I went back to the table. The mood was completely ruined. Craig gave a half-assed apology that was basically saying everyone's too sensitive these days, without actually apologizing for what he did. The rest of dinner was so awkward. Will's dad started asking about our 401k plans for the baby, his way of trying to move past the awkwardness, and his mom kept squeezing my hand under the table. I barely ate my dessert, even though it was my favorite. It's been 2 weeks, and I'm still upset about it. I never hold grudges usually, but I just can't stop thinking about it. I was so looking forward to that moment after years of heartbreak and disappointment, and Craig just ruined it, for a joke that wasn't even funny. Will has been really quiet about the whole thing. I think he's disappointed in me for making a scene, but I couldn't help it. I was just so shocked and hurt. Am I overreacting? It was just a joke, right? But it feels like so much more than that. After everything we've been through with trying to get pregnant, it feels like he took this really special moment and just destroyed it for no reason. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect so many responses. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, Craig knew about our fertility struggles. He and Jenna have been going through the same thing, so he definitely understood how sensitive this topic is. 2. No, Craig doesn't have any diagnosed mental health issues that I know of. Several people asked if he might be on the spectrum, but as far as I know, he's not. He's just always been the funny guy in the family. Number 3. For those asking why I confided in Craig first, I know it seems weird given his history, but he was actually really supportive during my health scare, and I was feeling really sick at this work conference and just needed someone to talk to since Will was overseas. I really thought I could trust him with this. Number 4. Will and Craig have a complicated relationship. Craig is the older brother and has always been pretty domineering. Will tends to avoid confrontation with him, which is frustrating sometimes, but I try to understand their family dynamics. Edit 2. Several people have pointed out that Will should be standing up for me more, and you're right. He was definitely angry with Craig, he told me later, but he has this weird thing where he freezes up around his brother. They have some childhood stuff I won't get into, but basically Will has always struggled to stand up to Craig. Edit 3. To clarify about Jenna, Craig's wife, she seemed genuinely horrified by what Craig did. She followed me to the bathroom and apologized profusely. She mentioned that Craig sometimes doesn't think before he speaks, but she seemed really embarrassed by his behavior. Now for the first update. Wow, I didn't expect my last post to get so much attention. Thank you to everyone who commented with support and advice. It really helped me feel less crazy about this whole situation. So I'm 14 weeks pregnant now. Yay! But still throwing up almost every day, which is not what I expected since everyone keeps saying, oh, the nausea stops after the first trimester. My doctor says some women just experience it longer than others. Lucky me, I guess. Anyway, a lot has happened since my last post. Like, a lot. 3 days after I posted, I got a call from Jenna, Craig's wife. I actually ignored it at first because I figured she was just calling to defend Craig or tell me I was overreacting or whatever. She called again though and left this really emotional voicemail asking me to please call her back because she needed to talk about something important. When I finally called her back, feeling kind of guilty for ignoring her to be honest, she told me something that honestly shocked me. Apparently Craig has been making jokes about their fertility struggles to his friends at their weekly poker nights. Jenna found out because one of the wives expressed sympathy about what they were going through, and Jenna had no idea what she was talking about. The wife got all awkward and eventually admitted that Craig had been making these horrible jokes about Jenna's broken baby maker, his words, not mine, for months. And that's when I started thinking about all the other jokes Craig has made over the years that everyone just laughs off. Like 2 Thanksgivings ago when Will lost his job during COVID layoffs, and Craig decided to bring it up during the family prayer by thanking God that at least Will was getting some rest while looking right at him. Everyone just laughed it off like, oh, Craig! Even though Will was literally struggling with depression at the time. Or last Christmas when Craig got me a weight loss book as my gift, knowing full well I had gained weight because of the fertility medication. He made this big show of giving it to me in front of everyone and suggested I could use it since getting pregnant wasn't working out. My mother-in-law just said, Craig, in this fake scandalized voice, but was still smiling. And then there was the time he introduced Jenna to their new neighbors as my wife with the broken baby maker. I wasn't there for that one, but Jenna told me about it during our call, and I could hear her crying. She said she just laughed it off at the time because she didn't want to seem too sensitive. So after talking to Jenna, I started thinking about all these incidents over the years and how everyone always says the same things. That's just Craig. He means well. His heart's in the right place. He's just joking. Don't be so sensitive. And I got mad. Like, really mad. I started going through old texts and found these cancer memes he sent me during my health scare that I thought were supportive at the time, but looking back were actually pretty awful. There was one with a bald cancer patient that said something like, "At least you'll save money on shampoo," which, yikes. I don't know why I laughed at that before. I even found a video from last Christmas where he made a comment about my mother-in-law's weight, and she actually started crying but then played it off like she was laughing. I never connected the dots before. So I showed everything to Will, and we had a conversation about it. I pointed out all the stuff Craig had done over the years. Will said that's just how Craig copes with uncomfortable situations, by joking. I asked if ruining our pregnancy announcement after years of infertility was just him coping. Will got quiet for a minute, and then admitted he's always struggled to stand up to Craig. Apparently when they were kids, Craig would constantly embarrass Will in front of his friends, and then tell their parents Will was being too sensitive if he got upset. Will told me about his high school graduation where Craig yelled, "That's my little brother the virgin," when Will walked across the stage. Their parents just laughed it off. Will was mortified, but everyone acted like it was no big deal. I told Will we're basically enabling Craig by never calling him out, and I asked if he really wanted our child growing up thinking it's okay to treat people this way. That seemed to get through to him. So, I might have done something drastic. I created a private message group with Will's parents, some cousins, and Jenna. The only person from the immediate family not included was Craig. And I shared all the evidence I'd compiled. I wasn't like, "Craig is horrible, let's all hate him," or anything. I just said something like, "This is why I can't accept it was just a joke anymore." And I explained how devastating it was to have our pregnancy announcement ruined after everything we've been through with fertility treatments, the miscarriage, all the doctor appointments, the hormones, the disappointment month after month. The reactions were mixed. Will's mom seemed genuinely shocked, like she had never connected all these incidents before. One of Will's uncles got defensive and said I was overreacting. But then like 5 different cousins messaged me privately saying Craig had done similar things to them, and they were glad someone was finally saying something. And then Jenna used the group's support to finally confront Craig about his jokes about their fertility struggles. Apparently they had this huge fight and Craig stormed out of the house. He's been staying at a friend's place for the past few days. Now Craig has been calling and texting me non-stop. Like one minute he's furious saying I'm turning everyone against him, and the next he's pleading with me to tell everyone it was all a misunderstanding. He left me this voicemail yesterday saying, "You're tearing this family apart over one little joke," which shows he still doesn't get it. I didn't want to cause trouble. I really didn't. I just wanted Craig to understand why what he did was so hurtful, and maybe get him to think before he makes these jokes in the future. Will's mom hasn't really said much since the initial group chat. I'm worried she's mad at me for stirring up all this trouble. She's always been super protective of Craig, probably part of the problem, to be honest. Will's dad's birthday is next weekend, and we're all supposed to get together for dinner. I'm honestly dreading it, but I also don't want to skip family events because of Craig. Will says we should go and just ignore Craig if he's there, but I don't know if I can do that. Did I go too far by creating that group chat and sharing all that evidence? Part of me feels justified, but another part feels guilty for causing all this when I should be focusing on staying healthy for the baby. Edit. Thank you all for the supportive comments. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, Will is being supportive now. I think seeing everything compiled together like that was kind of a wake-up call for him. He's agreed to talk to his parents before the birthday dinner to make sure they understand we're not trying to ostracize Craig. We just want him to understand his jokes are actually really hurtful. Number 2. For those asking if Craig has always been this way, yes, according to Will. Apparently in high school, he was known as the funny guy, but his humor was always at someone else's expense. Number 3. Several people mentioned therapy for Craig. I actually suggested that in the group chat, not in a mean way, just saying maybe talking to someone could help him understand why he feels the need to tear others down to be funny. Number 4. For those asking why I didn't stand up to Craig earlier, I honestly thought I was the problem. Everyone else seemed fine with his jokes, so I figured I was being too sensitive. Edit 2. I wanted to clarify that I didn't start the group chat to cancel Craig or turn his family against him. I genuinely want him to realize the impact of his words and change. I care about him, even though I'm furious with him right now, and I want our baby to have a relationship with their uncle. Just not this version of their uncle, if that makes sense. Edit 3. Oh, I just got a text from my mother-in-law asking if Will and I can come over tomorrow to talk before the birthday dinner. She said she's been doing a lot of thinking and wants to discuss everything in person. I'm nervous but also hopeful. We'll update if anything significant happens. Now for the second update. So, a lot has happened since my last post, like way more than I expected. First, thank you all for the support and advice. Reading your comments actually helped me realize I wasn't crazy for being upset, which I really needed. Quick update, I'm 18 weeks pregnant now, and we just found out we're having a girl. I cried when the ultrasound tech told us. Will pretended he wasn't crying, but he totally was. After everything we went through with fertility stuff, it still doesn't feel real sometimes. Anyway, back to the Craig situation, which has basically exploded since my last post. I honestly didn't expect things to go this far when I made that group chat, like, at all. After I posted last time, Craig started bombarding pretty much everyone in the family with these weird messages that kept switching between being super angry, "You're all turning against me over one stupid joke," and then really pitiful, "I can't believe my own family would do this to me." It was exhausting just hearing about them from Will's cousins who kept forwarding me screenshots. But the biggest thing that happened, and I'm still kind of in shock about this, is that Jenna has moved out of their house and is staying with her sister indefinitely. Like, she's done. I did not see that coming when I made that group chat. So about Will's dad's birthday dinner that I mentioned in my last update, oh God, it was so awkward. We got there and Craig was already sitting at the table acting like nothing had happened, like completely normal, talking about the weather and his fantasy football team or whatever. I actually thought for a minute that maybe he was going to apologize. Stupid, I know, but later realized he was just trying to pretend the whole thing would blow over. Everyone was doing this weird forced small talk thing, but then the weirdest thing started happening. Throughout the night, different family members kept pulling me aside to tell me their own Craig stories. Like, Will's cousin Emma, who I've barely talked to before, showed me this awful text Craig sent her last year after her miscarriage, where he made a joke about her not having to worry about college tuition. Who says that? And Will's Aunt Diane told me she skipped 2 family Christmases because of Craig's jokes about her divorce. I had this moment where I was like, has Craig just been terrorizing this entire family for decades and everyone's been pretending it's fine? At one point, Will's mom pulled me into the hallway by the bathrooms and started crying, like full-on sobbing. She admitted that she'd been enabling Craig his whole life because he struggled socially as a kid, and making jokes was his way of connecting. She said she was worried if they corrected him too much, he'd stop trying to connect with people at all, which I guess I understand from a mom perspective, but also, maybe he should have been corrected. I honestly feel bad for Craig in some ways. I can't believe I'm saying that after everything. Growing up thinking it's okay to hurt people as long as you call it a joke must have made it hard for him to form real relationships. But at the same time, it was kind of satisfying to see him finally face consequences for once. Then something big happened. I was alone in the kitchen getting water when Craig cornered me. He looked desperate and angry at the same time. He told me I needed to call off my attack dogs because Jenna was threatening divorce. I told him I wasn't controlling anyone's reactions. People were just responding to things he actually said and did. He got in my face and claimed I'd been plotting against him for years, which made no sense since I've only known him for 7 years and we were never close. I said if he was embarrassed by his own words, maybe that was the problem. He insisted everyone was too sensitive, and that's when Jenna walked in. She told him she found recordings on his phone. When Will and his parents came into the kitchen, Jenna played a recording where Craig was laughing with his friends, saying my miracle baby was probably someone else's since we'd been trying for so long. There was more, but I couldn't listen to it all. Will's parents were really upset. His dad told Craig to leave right away. Craig tried defending himself, saying it was just locker room talk. And that's when Jenna announced she'd already contacted a divorce attorney. The rest of the night was a blur. Craig left while still saying we were overreacting. Will's parents were both crying. Multiple family members surrounded Jenna, offering support. In the weeks since then, Jenna has officially filed for divorce and has been telling me stuff about their marriage that goes way beyond the public jokes. Apparently, Craig would belittle her at home constantly. Not just about the fertility stuff, but about everything. Her job, her appearance, her family. She said my group chat was the permission she needed to finally leave. Jenna and I have actually become friends through all this, which is weird, I guess, considering everything. She's even offered to host a do-over baby shower for us since our announcement was ruined. She's been amazing, honestly. Craig's parents told him he needs to get professional help and won't be welcome at family gatherings until he does. He refused at first, of course, but I heard from Will's mom that he recently started therapy, though he still texts me occasionally blaming me for destroying his life over one joke, so progress. I honestly don't know how to feel about all of this. Did I go too far by exposing Craig's behavior? I never expected it would lead to him being basically exiled from the family or Jenna filing for divorce. Part of me feels guilty, but another part feels like this was all stuff he did and said. I just shined a light on it. Will has finally stopped making excuses for his brother and is focusing on getting ready for our daughter. He painted the nursery last weekend. We're doing this soft green color instead of pink or blue, and has been reading these baby books, which is adorable. I'm relieved that Craig's behavior has been addressed, but sad about all the family drama. I worry about Jenna. Divorce is hard no matter what, but I'm glad she's getting out of what sounds like a pretty toxic situation. And I honestly hope Craig does get help and eventually understands why his jokes are so hurtful. We still don't know what's happening with holidays. Will Craig be there? Will it be super awkward if he's not? Some of Will's extended family still thinks I overreacted and broke up Craig's marriage, which is frustrating. Anyway, thank you Reddit for giving me the courage to stand up for myself. I'm hoping our daughter grows up in a family where jokes aren't used as weapons to hurt people. Edit. Some people are asking if I'm worried about Craig retaliating against me or the baby. Honestly, I don't think he would ever get physically violent. His whole thing has always been emotional manipulation through humor, not direct confrontation. Will is being super protective though and has made it clear to everyone that Craig isn't welcome at our house until he makes real changes. Edit 2. A few people have asked if I think Craig can change. I honestly don't know. The fact that he's going to therapy is a good sign, I guess. But the fact that he's still texting me, blaming me for everything, suggests he hasn't really accepted responsibility. His last text literally said, "Hope you're happy now that you've destroyed my life." Which, I didn't respond. Edit 3. To those asking why I didn't stand up to Craig sooner, I've been asking myself the same question. I think I just got used to the family dynamic of laughing off his jokes. It wasn't until I compiled everything together that I realized how messed up it all was. Also, pregnancy hormones might have given me the extra anger I needed, lol. Edit 4. Several people asked about Jenna's fertility journey and if she's still trying for a baby. I don't want to share too many details since that's her private business, but she did tell me she feels relieved to not be forced to keep trying methods that weren't working for her. She said Craig was the one pushing for more and more treatments, even when doctors suggested they might need to consider other options. Edit 5. To the person who asked if I regret creating that group chat, no, I don't. I regret that it caused so much pain for so many people, but I think this family needed to stop pretending Craig's behavior was okay. As several commenters pointed out on my last post, sometimes things need to get worse before they can get better.